I'd like to call to order this Records and Public Safety Committee. First item on the agenda is again the Pledge of Allegiance, if we would, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Nard. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 4 is public participation. This allows people in the public 3 minutes to speak. The first opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak for a maximum of those 3 minutes on an item on today's agenda. There will be a second opportunity for public participation, and that's for those who wish to speak on any issue. So I will call out now, is there anybody here who would like to speak on public participation for anything on this agenda? Going once, twice. I'm going to close that off. I'll go to item number 5, which is presentation, Turning Point, Macomb Sexual Assault Response Team, SART, Cindy Schulter, Salcido, and she's going to give us a little presentation, and before she does, I need a motion to receive and file.
Support Van Sickle.
It's been moved by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle, and I hope that Cindy is here because I didn't see her before. Oh, Cindy, come on up. Adjust that microphone so it's at your height, and you're up.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us the opportunity to tell you a little bit about this great team that I am the coordinator for. So thank you, Chair Brown, for allowing us this opportunity. The Sexual Assault Response Team is a sexual assault response team that is in this community made up of multidisciplinary people who are trained professionals who deal with sexual assault on a daily basis. So our job is to kind of look for the gaps in the system and fill those gaps, because we know that where there's a gap, people fall through those, especially victims and survivors. So we want to make sure that we are filling those gaps, but also at the same time, if a survivor is falling through those gaps, so are offenders. So a lot of what our team does is we're survivor-centered, we're offender-focused, and we want to make sure that we are keeping the community safe. So we don't do that alone. I have a whole team of people behind me. If they want to come up, I would like for them to introduce themselves. I could do it for them, but there's only about a third of them here. So it's a very large team of people that come together once a month to take a look at what's happening in the community and help change the system so that we can make this system navigate a little bit better for survivors. So we try to streamline that system for themselves. So we work well together, and I just want to make sure that I brought them up here so they can introduce themselves to you.
Cindy, excuse me, are each one of them going to speak, or do you have a spokesperson for all of them, please?
I just wanted to have them introduce themselves and what they do in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Christina Boylan. I'm the Administrator of Clinical Forensic Nursing Services with Turning Point's Forensic Nurse Examiner Program. And I just wanted to thank you again for allowing us to introduce ourselves. I oversee the only program in Macomb County that responds to sexual assault across the lifespan. We are the only program that has advanced forensically trained nurses. We are consulted by all law enforcement jurisdictions in Macomb County, as well as every healthcare system in Macomb County, because this is specialized education and training that's not received in basic medical and nursing curriculum. So we just thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. I'm Detective Bishop from Clinton Township Police Department. I've been with this group since the beginning. So we're trying to get resources to survivors of sexual assault that fall through the cracks and don't get anything if they don't want to prosecute, or they don't want to follow through with charges because they're just not ready yet to tell their story. So this group got together to try to get resources to those people. And just to put it in a little perspective, I am one city, Clinton Township. We deal with over 1,000 last year, over 1,000 domestic violence, strangulation, child abuse, and sexual assault cases. Just us. So you can imagine all the other cities that, and statewide too, how big of a problem it is. So we volunteer our services to this group to try to help those survivors and deal with the trauma that comes with it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Molly Zapatel. I'm Chief Assistant Prosecutor for the Sex Crimes Child Protection Unit, as it's called, and we predominantly handle all sexual abuse cases, both involving children and adults, as well as child death cases and child abuse cases. Now, in regards to working with the forensic nurse program, we rely on them significantly when we're presenting a case in trial. They're a huge asset to our prosecution in regards to getting a conviction. There's a lot of reasons for that, a lot of evidentiary rules that allow us to utilize their testimony to assist the victim and corroborate their statements. And without that, we would be at a loss because, again, these are very, very difficult cases with very, very limited evidence when we present them in front of the jury. And first and foremost, in regards to their program, they give the victim the voice that they need and the security that they need when they first get sexually assaulted, and they have confrontation with them, and they can work them through the program and delicately secure the evidence that we need as a prosecutor, but also to provide the treatment, the resources, the counseling, and everything else they do in the community-based, as opposed to just going to a doctor who just will, treat them as a number, per se, if you want to call it that. I know that they have funding through, I believe, the health department. There's a line item for that. And we would like, if possible, to possibly create additional line item for them to do suspect exams. That would be a huge asset, again, to prosecution. And I'm not saying suspect exams just exclusively to rape cases. I'm talking egregious assault cases, very domestic assault to strangulation. They don't have any funding for that, to be able to document all the injuries a victim goes through in regards to a serious domestic violence assault. So I don't know where that could be put in. I don't know if it's the health department that it would go through or funnel through, but it has to be specific for them to be able to perform that. And, again, it's beneficial to all the citizens of Macomb County because that would allow us to prosecute more cases. That would allow us to continue to push these cases through and put people and offenders behind bars and give the victims the services that they deserve. And there's just so much more I could say, but I know I have limited time. And this is Ms. Fedoric. She is also an assistant prosecutor in our unit. She has been assigned to handle the adult rape cases in regards to our community. The unfortunate thing is she's been kind of reassigned halfway to other units because of our lack of personnel in our prosecutor's office. But I'm hopeful after January that she can come full-time back again and continue to give the services and the attention the victims of adult rapes deserve. And they deserve just as much, if as the children that are raped in this community.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your time. As Ms. Zapatel said, I handle all of the adult victim sexual assault cases in the county, and I just want to, again, emphasize how important the sexual assault response team is in taking an interdisciplinary approach to and involving a lot of different players from different spheres in responding to sexual assault that happens in Macomb County. So we look forward to working with you all and your support. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a whole bunch more people back there.
Yeah, I sure do.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Renee Yax, and I work for the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. I think Detective Bishop said it when we talked about police departments. I think that this SART team that I've sat on probably for 2 or 3 years now is great because unfortunately victims of these types of crime don't just come in and deal with one team. They don't deal with one agency, one business. They have to deal with all of us. So us coming together and meeting once a month and explaining what each one of us does helps to make our response to those victims even better. Thank you.
First of all, my name is James Friedman with the East Point Police Department. I have to say hello to Harold and Veronica, or I'll be in trouble. But I want to say thank you to this commission for giving us the opportunity. To Cindy, 35 years of my life I've spent as a senior pastor. 16 of those years have been in law enforcement with the East Point Police Department. And unfortunately, I've had to deal with individuals that have been victims of sexual assault, sexual violence, sexual harassment. From various genres. Having a group like this is beyond important. And just watching the growth of this group and the things that we've been able to accomplish, number one, forming those integral partnerships between law enforcement and those that are helping in this field, such as forensic nursing and things such as that, has just been such an important component with all of this. Forming a team. It's going to take a team to be able to help those that have done and gone through this misfortunate event in their life. So being a part of this almost from the beginning has been nothing short of a joy. And I'm thankful to Chairman Brown for his time that he spent coming out to listen to us and then inviting us here. So we look forward to working with you and continue to help those who are survivors of sexual assault, sexual violence, as well as sexual harassment. Thank you so much for your time.
Chair, while the next person is coming up, I think James shorted himself a little bit. He's also a pastor and the chaplain for the Roseville and East Point Police Departments.
That's the tip of the iceberg. Good afternoon, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Mark Kilgore. I work for CARE Southeastern Michigan's Recovery United Community Center, and this has been a great collaboration. The part that I play in this is if we have some survivors that may have turned to substances to deal with the trauma they faced, we provide resources to help them deal with their addiction issues. And it's a great group of people, and I thank Cindy for inviting me in. It's been a while. I don't know how long.
3 years.
3 years? Well, so thank you for giving us the time today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us in here. My name is Elda Cara. I'm a case manager with Macomb County during the day, but at night I'm a first responder for domestic violence and sexual assault with Turning Point. Me and Christina are the first on the line. We see all the survivors who come in through our doors, starting from children to elderly to 98 years old, I would say. So we are the first people, actually, unfortunately, who see, what you guys can imagine and what they're going through. So it is hard. So thank you very much for having us. I just want to have Christina a little bit talk about the exam, if it's possible.
So back as a nurse now, not the administrator, but as a forensic nurse examiner, we partner with a first response advocate for every survivor that we see. And I just want to share a little bit more with you about what that exam looks like. So we receive a call 24/7. That individual can come to a private confidential exam site to receive what's called a rape kit. And what that includes is the medical history of the assault for which they were referred to us. The nurse can offer them a head-to-toe physical assessment documenting any injury that may be visible on the body, along with evidence collection for any DNA that may be present on the body associated with that assault. Another key component of the care that we provide, because we are healthcare first and the health and well-being of the patient is our priority, is the fact that we can offer them emergency medications to prevent sexually transmitted infections and, very importantly, HIV. So there is a small window of time within 72 hours of the assault that we have medications that we can administer that actually prevents the transmission of HIV if there was an exposure during that assault. Those medications are often, well, not often, those medications are $3,000 for a month. and it is a 28-day course. All of our services, the advocacy, the health care, the medications, the evidence collection, and our testimony as an expert witness is all free of service to every single survivor that walks through our doors. We are also an entry point for any additional counseling or emergency shelter services, as well as housing programs. So we are full wraparound services in addition for every survivor that is referred to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We get them all, Cindy?
We got them all. We did.
Go ahead. Anything else you want to add to that?
I just wondered if you had any questions for us.
Well, did I see Prosecutor Lucido here? Did he leave us? He left. He left us? Yes, we do have some questions.
Okay.
Oops. Okay, that's better. Chair Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing your part of your team here. You know, as was mentioned, I've attended this meeting, and these are remarkable people doing things that most people don't want to even think about. They're involved with the worst things that go on in our county, and it was so moving to hear the passion and compassion that they all share about looking after the victims that come through their doors at all hours of the day. And it was just so important that this board has and will continue to support efforts like this through the budgets to the various things that we do with the county. But I wanted to make sure that come out here so you could all hear them and the public could hear who are watching this at home, to know that there are caring people around to support them when terrible things happen. And you're all angels for what you do. You're looking after the people that are the worst parts of their life. They're the lowest points of their life. But you build them back up. You give them the tools to build them back up and go on with their lives and put it behind them and lead happy lives. But you're there with them in the darkest days, helping them bring justice to those who did it to them as well. So I just thought it was important to bring them up. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing to put them on the agenda. And you have our continued support. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for everything that you do. It's remarkable, to say the least. And you do so much for others. How can the community help you as a unit? How can those in our different districts help you?
Well, as you heard, a lot of them say we can't do this work because we do our work free of charge, and we can't do that without the continued support of donors and people that support the mission, so that we can continue to provide those services to victim survivors of crime. And they operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's probably the biggest way that we can still continue to do the work that we do.
Thank you. Cindy, excellent presentation. Honestly, I learned some things, unfortunately, that I really didn't want to know about, but it's good to know. And Turning Point does accept donations, cash, checks, all kinds of good stuff. All you have to do is go to, you're located at?
We have a office at 76 South Main. We're just walking distance from here.
76 South Main, Mount Clemens. I've been there, dropped off items. So keep that in mind. If you want to contribute, that's where it's at. Thank you for an excellent presentation, Cindy. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I see no other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I have a motion and support to receive and file. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is department recommendations. There's a contract, property insight, register of deeds, parcel ID, analytics and track indexing for $597,000. I have Jennifer Walker, Deputy Register of Deeds, who's going to make the presentation. Before we do that, I need a motion to recommend that to full board, please.
So move, Van Sickle.
I've heard Commissioner Van Sickle made the motion and Commissioner Hall supported it. Ms. Walker, you're up.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Jennifer Walker. I'm the Deputy Registrar of Deeds here on behalf of Clerk Anthony Forlini, and I'm here to present to you what our track indexing and parcel ID analytics project is, which is pretty much a fancy way of saying doing better things through data. So what the Register of Deeds does, if you're not familiar, is we are responsible for recording and indexing all real estate documents. So deeds, mortgages, liens, easements. Our purpose is to provide an inexpensive and trustworthy place where residents can notify and find all interested parties in real estate transactions. Currently, we record an average of 160,000 documents a year, and we are a holder of 9 million real estate documents from 1809 to current day. So all those records are available in our system and can be searched online. The question we can reliably answer is, what does this specific person own or owe on a piece of property that anyone's interested in? We can search by property, which still requires multiple searches, but there's incomplete results. We can't reliably answer the question of who owns a specific piece of property. And that's one of the most popular questions we get in our office is people are like, oh, I just drove down by this piece of property. It says it's for sale. Can you tell me who owns it? Who do I contact? We can't always reliably answer that information because of the different sources of information that are indexed for the legal description, for address, for parcel, how these documents come in. What we want to move to is a track index. We want to be able to reliably answer that question of who owns or owns this piece of specific property. And with a track index, only one search would be required, whether it's by the parcel ID, whether it's by the street address or the legal description elements, and you would get full, complete results. Wayne County already has a track index in place. Oakland County already has a track index in place. With our volume of 9 million documents, and since we've never gotten to really start, we don't have one yet. So the question is, how do we get there? Well, I started reaching out to different departments, the treasurer's office, who is the authority on parcel IDs and legal, the planning department, who hosts GIS, equalization, the local assessors, and I quickly discovered there's a lot of departments in Macomb County that utilize and rely on this data. So we began the discovery and project team with Jeff from planning and Sandy Wilson from IT. So, because we figured out that if we did this right, we could build something to do a track index and register of deeds, but that doesn't just benefit us, will also benefit all these other county departments. And what that looks like is what we have called a property spine. So we hired Property Insight last year to do this discovery process, and this is what we came up with. It will be a hosted database of searchable land description because that parcel ID, the address, the legal information, they're all linked together. We already have the data in Macomb County through these other departments. We just don't have it all in one place, and we don't have it in a format to be able to make this a reality. An example of what this will do in Register of Deeds, today our clerks manually index documents. So there's a quitclaim deed, there's legal description, street address, parcel ID. They have to key in all those values. There's errors that are possible, whether it's from keying in or because there's errors on the document, and we have no real way to validate that. With the property spine, our system, our existing system we have now, will connect to the property spine via an API. If the indexer only keys in that one value of parcel ID, it will pull in that other information. So not only is it more efficient, we have that way to actually validate that data. Take a breath. Am I going too fast? So that's our go-forward solution. But the question has always been, when track index has been addressed in Macomb County Register of Deeds, is what about those 9 million documents? What do we do with our historical track index? How do we make that happen? So it's using the same concept of combining data. Register of Deeds, we already have partial data indexed in our system. There's back indexing projects that had happened with the development of the property spine to be able to fill in those holes, and then title plant data from Property Insight, our vendor, to fill in the gaps, we will end up with a whole of the track indexing data for all our 9 million documents. And what that track index will look like is back to 1980, we will have the parcel ID, we will have the street address, we will have the platted legal descriptions, the government legal descriptions, and from 1980 back to 1809, we'll have at least the government legal descriptions, government survey. The reason for that cutoff is one, marketable title in Michigan is 40 years, so we're going a little beyond that. And also technology has changed in the Register of Deeds systems. There were certain fields we didn't have available, but we'll still have a track index in full with this solution. And I know the other thing you'll care about is who benefits, who cares? Like I said before, I reached out to a lot of different departments, and there are 6 other county departments that utilize land record data, parcel ID, address, legal descriptions, and 24 local assessors. That's just in the county alone. And I hope you're all noticing a trend on this slide here of we're kind of the outlier here. We are the linchpin in the system, and they do rely on our records, whether they're using this type of data or they're directly searching our records. So we are causing a bottleneck in their processes. My thought is these departments should be able to focus on the services that they're providing our residents instead of looking for the data from us that they need to provide those services. And an example of that is what I call the equalization example. So before, Register of Deeds staff, we index the documents, and then the equalization staff would search for those documents and then index those documents again in their own system, duplicating work within the county. What we've already been able to implement through our new Tyler system is now that data is delivered, and equalization just has to verify it. So we set up an export, and their staff just reviews it, removing that duplication of work. However, without the track index, there are still records that are incomplete or incorrect, so they still have to manually search out and index some of those documents. With the track index, they will have more reliable data, and that won't be the case. But going back to the before example with equalization, we have 24 local assessors that are doing the exact same thing. So in all our municipalities across the county, they are searching our records and re-indexing the same data that we're indexing. We can't offer the equalization example to them yet until we have the track index, because they require a much larger set of records that we just don't reliably have the data. So other than our county departments and municipal departments, we have a lot of users of our data, from the public themselves. If they're buying a property, selling a property, doing financial planning, estate planning, research, they're searching our records. And like I said, the most common question we get is about a specific piece of property. How can I find these documents based on this address, based on this parcel ID, but based on this subdivision and lot? We can't reliably answer. With the track index, we will be able to. Then businesses, title companies, I gave you the title company example. The same is for surveyors, developers, real estate agents, and other government agencies on the federal and state level. And then probably the most important part you want to know is what are we getting and how much? In the packet there, you'll see the cost is directly just from the automation fund, our tech fund. We do have funds available. What we are getting for the project cost, that $477,000, is the development of the actual property spine. That's our go-forward track index, the implementation of it, and implementing that API integration with our Tyler system. We're going to get that historical track index of our 9 million records, training documentation, and not just for using this system, but for reading land descriptions themselves, parcel ID, how the data relates to each other. Because that was another thing I discovered through all this, is within the county, that knowledge is kind of fading away. And there are some other departments that had requested, oh, if you're getting training, can we have it too? So I wanted to make sure that we had the training documentation for that. And then the annual cost of $120 is hosting that database, the infrastructure of that database. They're going to be maintaining this data. So this is real living data of it will be continually updated through the county, and then customer support. I know typically on the board recommendation sheets you ask for what are other options. I didn't put one because there really isn't one, but if you want to know what a typical solution is in other counties, it usually turns to manual indexing. When I first started, I had companies that are like, oh, hire us, we can index it for you. But Clerk Ferlini wanted me to find a text solution. If we did something like that, we're completely impeded by our volume of 9 million records. We had a firm index 20,000 documents last year, took them 2 months, and it was $1.40 per document. So do the math. That's about $12 million, would take them like 30 years. So it's not a viable solution, but I think what we're getting from the Property Insight contract is a steal. And with that, I'll say, any questions?
Yes, we have a lot of questions, Jennifer.
Put a discovery project team together and showed it across all of the entities that would benefit from this. That's really the benefit to me in voting for something like this. And I will say I talked to Clerk Ferlini this week. He was bubbling with pride with this presentation and the amount of work that's been put into it and the amount of people involved. So I just want to say great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Are you currently working with the IT department on this?
Yes.
Okay, and the automation fund, I don't think Steve is here, but do you know how much is in there right now?
Yeah, the current balance on the automation fund is $2.489 million.
Okay, so this is just for the clerk/register of deeds
Register
budget?
of deeds, yes.
If this is a benefit to all the other departments, then why wouldn't it come through the IT budget?
So the
as a
automation fund is built specifically for advancing technology to index and search documents. And if this project doesn't do that, I don't know what does. The difference is we could put this in our own system, our Tyler system, but I looked into some of the past attempts at doing this project, and I think that was one of the flaws of it, of having it outside our system so we know we have our county data in a separate system, and getting the other departments involved it was just a bonus. It was through learning so much of what the problem is and how much it affects the other departments, it seemed to me the more logical solution. But as far as whether it fits into that realm, it definitely fits into that realm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add something really quick. So the state legislature sets how much the recording fee is for every document that gets recorded in our office. And by mandate, we collect $5 from each $30 recording. That goes into the technology fund. And there are regulations as to how we spend that. This project is exactly the purpose that the legislature intended, is to get counties to bring their standards up in terms of technology for the purposes of benefiting taxpayers, residents, people searching, so that it's easier to find property through all the various examples that Jennifer gave. So, I mean, this is what our tech fund has been designed to do.
Okay, just to follow up with that, Chair. So the fund balance, as you said, $2.489 million. Do you, and then thank you so much for explaining how the state legislature works with all this funding. It almost kind of sounds excessive.
Yeah. So in past clerk administrations, we have taken on a track indexing project. Jennifer explained the manual part. Under a previous clerk, we were actually doing that and spending a significant amount of money to do that. We accomplished getting a few years done, but nothing on the level of this. Through past clerks, that project ended, and so we went through a period of 5 years where we basically weren't spending any money on trying to advance a track index project. Hence, funds accumulated in that account that we really weren't using.
So can that $5 be reduced? Is that through the state legislature?
Yeah,
the
no,
$5 that you collect?
Yeah, we're required to collect that, so it can't be reduced. I would say that it's beneficial that we get to hold on to it because typically our county, in any other type of financial transactions, for example, remonumentation, we collect more fees from our residents than we get back from the state. We're a donor county when it comes to remonumentation. Our money basically goes to other counties that don't have the population we do so they can do remonumentation. So, I mean, I'm kind of grateful that it stays here because, you know, number one, this allows us to do work in our office and use our staff to promote technological advances rather than having that staff fall on the general fund.
Sure. Got it.
And in fact, when we got the new Tyler contract, we actually did take 2 employees in our office and move them off of the general fund and put them on the tech fund so that their positions are paid through this fund. So it is helping us save.
Great.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys are
helping
doing
us
a
save
wonderful
general
job.
fund money.
Thank you for that. And I think we're sort of on the same page as, you know, keeping our residents in mind and their costs down. At least for me, it is unfortunate that we are a donor county, but that's how things are. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, Jennifer, I just want to echo Commissioner Hawes' comments. Great presentation, very thorough. I appreciate you and your team putting this together. Brian kind of touched on my question with, you know, we always talk about bringing in new technology and how it's going to be so efficient and all this, that, and the other, but we never reduce staff because of the efficiencies, because of the technology. So the fact that we can cover some of those folks with this fund is fantastic, but do you see down the road potentially reducing staff because of the efficiencies of this program?
So I think it down the road could be a possibility, but it's hard to know only because honestly, the business that we do at Register of Deeds is all kind of dependent on the economy. I mean, if you look at 20-year trend, I mean, we've gone from 395 or 400,000 documents in a year down to 120. And it goes like this. I mean, you know, I wasn't around, but back in the 90s, in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, Register of Deeds were looking at being sued by title companies because there were months and months and months of documents in boxes sitting in all 3 counties' offices, and they were 9 months behind in recording documents. So hence where this kind of came from was, you know, let's figure out how you guys can do this more efficiently. So we're always trying to get more efficient, but at the same time when we're growing, it's kind of a, you know, I think it could. I can't speak for other departments and what will change in their work flows with this once it's implemented, but it's a possibility. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Commissioner Nard.
Hi. You know, when I saw this, it excited me because I have become very friendly with the Register of Deeds in Jasper County, Mississippi. It took us 15 years to get my mother's land together, and they had to do what you said. So I understood everything you said, and I'm going to be happy to take this back and call the lady up and say, hey, look, you know, our county got this, because it took 15 years to find. My mother went from having 45 acres of land to 385 acres of land in Jasper County, Mississippi, all because, you know, things were in boxes and it was years. And once her relatives passed, her being the sole living heir, all of that, it took them a while to get it all together. So we was excited to find that out. But yeah, I can appreciate what you did. You did a great presentation.
Thank you.
And this is awesome.
Thank you. Well, that's the thing too. I'm excited, and I'm a data nerd, so it's like normal for me to be excited. But it's also, I'm from the private sector, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally improving how our government works. This is so cool.
I'm going to be so glad to take that back to them. So I'd like to probably speak to you a little bit after it so I can know how to present this to her.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. Jennifer, great presentation. I really enjoyed it. I didn't even need to bring out my snacks, so I was so into the presentation. So as a realtor, I thank you in advance for this, because that is very beneficial to have. The communication that you have given us is also helpful, because we usually find out things after the fact, and this breakdown that you have given us is helping us to see the way that you want to go and the way that you're going, especially bringing in other departments. Great work. And because of you, I did reach out to a couple of schools, high schools in my district, and they are on board with getting you guys some high school co-op internships. So hopefully by the fall, you'll have your pick of some really great students to help you with all the things, and you can teach them because you're the best example. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Jennifer. I was thinking, is there going to be a public portal on this system? And that's one way, if there was, that's one way we could possibly save some money.
Well, this system connects to the Register of Deeds. There already is a public portal. So that's what's, or are you talking about like a separate public portal?
Well, you made mention of the fact that people will call your office and want information.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I was thinking a public portal to this information could allow them to self-service and not have to engage your office to do those kinds of tasks.
Well, that is the goal. So this system will be connecting to our Tyler system where all these documents are already hosted online. But as far as the database itself, that's a possibility.
I'd like to see us save some money that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just as a simple example, you may have a property document that's filed with us that doesn't have a parcel ID on it. So currently, if you go into our system, you can do this from home. We have a search. You can't see the document, but you can see all the information that's indexed. So, and the reason for that is because we do have to generate revenue for our office, and the state law allows us to charge a certain amount of money for documents as a way to generate revenue to offset our costs. When this is done, in our whole 9 million record system, all those documents that have a missing parcel ID, they're going to be there. So then when you go in and search, it's the same search we have right now. It's just it's going to plug all those holes in our system of all these past documents that don't have that information. And by the way, the reason that is, this is not a knock or anything, but there are no really real requirements in what has to be in a deed document that's filed with our office. The law doesn't say it has to have a parcel ID. There's this descriptive language that says it has to describe the piece of property. It doesn't say that it has to have an actual street address. And so because of that, we get a lot of documents that don't lay out all that specific stuff, which we just over the years we don't have the staff that could sit and figure it out. There's too many documents. So this is going to plug all those holes. So exactly what you're saying will happen as a result of this.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting that a public portal would short circuit your fees, if you will.
Right.
You can always charge for the things you charge for now. Just make it more convenient and quicker for people to get to the information they're looking for.
Well, the question that we get asked is who owns a piece of property? And they will be able to answer this question on our online portal.
Good.
Where they can purchase documents. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Chair Brown.
Thank you. 9 million documents are stacked up. How long is it going to take you to get through those?
So they're not doing it through here's an actual document, here's an actual document. They're doing it through data. So we estimate about 6 months.
Okay, good.
By taking that data, because a lot of the data we have in Register of Deeds is what you call string text. So it's just a string of text. You can't search it on its own. So they're going to be pulling those parts out of it and then matching it up with the property spine so that we have one full set.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Jennifer. Hi. Thank you for being here. Great presentation. Thank you for being a data nerd. We needed somebody like you. We've been looking for somebody like you. 10 years ago, I remember this discussion about all these documents and not being scanned, and we need to get to the 21st century, and yada, yada, yada. And as Commissioner Song was asking about the tech fund, I asked about it years ago, too. We have all this money sitting in a fund, and we're not doing anything with it. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad we figured out a solution to this huge problem. And thank you for taking that initiative because it's been a problem for a number of years, commissioners. And I can tell you, being in the real estate business for 20 years now almost, you know, when you buy a piece of property and your title could have an objection and someone else thinks that they own it, you could lose your property. So what we're doing is we're solving a huge problem. We're putting pieces to the puzzle and solving that. I like the spine. That was cool how you came up with that idea. So kudos to you, to your team, and how you actually solved the problem with bringing in other departments. I know some of the other departments are here. What I would also like to hear, Chair, if we could, if we've got some time, is how this is going to benefit some of these other departments as well, beyond the Register of Deeds, and how this is impacting your department specifically.
Well, the biggest benefit, just implementation of this alone, in the slide I had before of how they search information, the information that they use. Did I go too far? I went too far. Yeah, no, I didn't. There it is. They're already using parcel ID. They're already using address. They're already using legal, especially our infrastructure department. So public work, Department of Roads, environmental health. When they have to go look for the owner or start doing research on a piece of property, they have to essentially do a title abstract search, which they are not title abstractors. So it's very time consuming for them just to figure out property lines, easements that exist, to build a drain, to do work on that road, to do an inspection on a septic or a well. So the biggest impact it'll have from them for implementation is just being able to have that data at their fingertips, essentially, so that they can get back at their jobs.
Okay.
If I can add one more thing, any of these departments that want to, if they ever want to enhance their own systems to have better searchability to the location of the property, they will be able to avoid any costly data conversion projects because we already will have that data there in the property spine.
Got it. In regards to the contract, I didn't get a chance to read all the details in it, but what's the term of the contract?
The term is 5 years.
Okay. And then renewable thereafter, or how?
Renewable on, I believe, 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Quick comment. I can see Commissioner Sabatini and Commissioner Wallace both beaming as this will help them out in their business environment. But the reality here is this is a huge problem that's really transparent only to those that utilize that data. And a huge problem is costing $600,000 to fix. So huge problems require huge investments to resolve.
Honestly, I think this price is kind of a steal for what we got.
Well,
Oh, really?
when you're looking at numbers, 600,000, there's a lot that'll take exception with that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you,
Chair.
Commissioner. I see no other speakers. In fact, on the side note, I'm glad you went back to 1809 because when I bought my house then, I wanted to make sure I got a deed. Seeing no other speakers, we have a motion in support to move this to full board. Please vote. Thanks, Jen. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Commissioners, if you would go along with me, I see Prosecutor Lucido here in the audience, and I wanted to know if he'd have a moment to speak on Turning Point. Is he still here or did he leave us? Prosecutor Lucido? They had a nice presentation, but if you can add something to that, you're more than welcome to, and if not, you're more than welcome to sit down again.
It's nice to see all of you. I mean, congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
I can only tell you this. They're better off to speak for themselves. And the reason why is if they're going to go ahead and participate in the discussions with the Board of Commissioners, they should be the one at the podium and do what they need to do to influence and or educate, not me. In my department, I can tell you all about who I am and what I do and what I expect, but they would be the best, and that would be respectfully to them because they do a great job, Turning Point.
Just want to make sure you prosecute when you're supposed to prosecute, Mr. Lucido.
I promise you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's move to item 7, which is public participation. And this is where the public has an opportunity for 3 minutes to speak on any item that they wish to. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for 3 minutes? He who hesitates is lost. Come forward, don't be bashful.
Oh, I didn't know if she was coming.
She's leaving.
Okay, I see that. Again, good afternoon. I am a resident of 54 years in Macomb County. And my name is Molly Zapatel, and I am also an assistant prosecutor. And I'm going to speak additionally on behalf of Turning Point because, you know, the brief synopsis they provided you does not give justice to what they do to this community. And I don't think many of you really know the tragic things that happen and what these women and they see on a regular basis. Most of the time when I talk to people about what happens in this community related to rapes, you know, child abuse, dead kids, dead babies, etc., they're shocked to know how prevalent it is. There's 6 APAs that are dedicated to our unit that exclusively prosecute these cases. And we have a big caseload. It's not like we have 5 files or 10 files. We have a lot of cases, and these are one of the most difficult cases to prosecute. I've been a prosecutor for 25 years, and I've been in this unit for 15 of those. And I've prosecuted everything on the spectrum. But in regards to their funding, they currently get $30,000, and it's been that way for 10 years, as far as I know. And that does not supply them with enough funding to provide the sources and resources that they articulated to the community. And as a member of the community, and I know what they do, it needs to be expanded. And they need to be able to provide the services to domestic violence victims. And when I say domestic violence, I'm not saying the women that are slammed against the wall. I'm talking serious domestic violence, dragged around the house, kicked, strangled, beaten. It happens all the time, all the time. And they need the funding to be able to help these victims, see them, document their injuries, again, my self-serving reason, to prosecute them. Because without that, what do we have? In a practical sense, I don't even know if you know how it works. These women currently go to a department to report their assault, they're beaten, battered, bruised, and stripped down in front of an evidence tech, and they're taking pictures. That's not how you confront a woman who has just been through a serious traumatic event. So these nurses with a strangulation expansion on what they currently are allowed to do, because right now they get $30,000, and it's my understanding it only goes specifically to rape cases. They need to have that to expand and additional funding for strangulation, domestic violence, suspect exams. When they go in, law enforcement calls them and say, hey, we got this guy, we need everything documented. Because again, evidence techs, police officers, they miss a lot of things. It's just human. And they're trained specifically for this type of documentation. So it's important. And Chair Brown, I know, and thank you for coming to a meeting. These are very compassionate people. They work because they volunteer their extra services. They're not getting paid for this. Everything is free. We need their services in court as well, and we need their documentation. So I'm asking for finding some additional funding, whether it's through the health department or wherever you guys can find some extra money to give them to be able to perform additional services to the community. And everybody will benefit. This is for all citizens of Macomb County. And they are just great people, and they do provide great services. And what they articulated to you does not really give them justice for what they really do for victims, survivors, and providing all the services. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in public participation would like to speak for 3 minutes? Please come forward.
Me again, thank you. Just to provide you with a snippet of a little case review to kind of support what Molly was just sharing was, last year I was called to a local hospital for a patient who was physically assaulted and strangled by her boyfriend. I was able to document injury so detailed that it showed the thread of the belt buckle that she had been beaten with. Yet the hospital record showed no injury. I was able to document the individual layers of the 5-blade razor that was used to her neck, her face, and her back. Yet the hospital record showed no injury. 191 injury photographs later, the hospital record had showed no injury. Prosecution was able to utilize our medical record and photo documentation to successfully prosecute the individual, not only for my patient, but for the 6 additional females that had came forward after the courage of one. So we are the only program in Macomb County that has a specialized education and training to provide these exams for this patient population. It's not taught in curriculum, and healthcare providers share that they lack the knowledge and the comfort level in caring for this vulnerable population. Again, for strangulation in Macomb County, well, I think it's in the state, Molly can probably speak to that, domestic violence is a misdemeanor until 3 convictions, not charges, but convictions. Yet with strangulation, it is a 10-year felony and first-time offense, and there is additional components to the medical forensic exam specific to the strangulation. It's a focus head, ear, eye, neck, throat, along with swab for evidence collection as well that can support that. And again, that comes along with our team being able to qualify as expert witness testimony. So thank you again.
Thank you. Just remember, folks, that domestic violence is not limited to females only. Just wanted to add that in there. Anybody else want to speak? If not, forever hold your tongue. Once, twice, 3 times. Let's go to item number 8, which is commissioners' comments. Oh, here we go again. Can I see a hand presentation? Anybody wants to speak? Commissioner Kleinfeld?
A couple of quick things. If the way that we fund Turning Point, because it's in the appropriations section of the budget, is based on contracting with them, as opposed to, how CDBG funds get used to donate to some sorts of charities, communities do that, then I would think it would have to come with the contract to change that. I think if we just increased it, I don't know exactly how that would all work. Just wanted to point that out. And I really, really wanted to just wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Dang it. But I'm going to see so much of you in the next couple of days. And just for the folks that create the schedule, some of us do a lot of cooking for Thanksgiving, and to meet for the 3 days prior to Thanksgiving is going to be really difficult to put together the Thanksgiving meal. So I guess I'm just going to have to put it on my husband. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair. And the first thing I'd say is I'm glad I'm not your husband. Jesus. Just for the individuals, I am the representative for Macomb County and the Southeast Macomb United Way organization. Turning Point has been and continues to be a very high priority of that organization. We are just now going through budget funding for 2023, and there is an increase in amounts proposed in that budget. Now, recognize I go up against Wayne, Oakland, and Detroit on a prioritization basis, but it is slated to increase funding to Turning Point. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you. I just want to say, Veronica, I'm sure your husband will not mind doing some Thanksgiving cooking after he had to drive to Lansing to give you your keys. So, watch it, Joe. Also, thank you to the staff that went out of their way to get us a banner for Saturday. I would like to make note that I did not take that banner last year, but I will take it this year. Once we are done, roll up the banner, give it to me. I'm saying it on the record. I will bring it back to you. And Saturday, guys, Saturday. Gloves, hats, tissue in your pockets, because it's going to be just a little bit cold, just a tiny bit. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Song?
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry I won't be there on Saturday, Commissioner Wallace, but I heard that there's going to be a blizzard in West Michigan, so we're going to be lucky. I wanted to share on Tuesday, I had the opportunity to go to the Macomb food pantry / warehouse right off of M59. I serve on the Macomb food program, which is a separate nonprofit 501c3. The nonprofit, as part of the board, we approved a donation of $50,000 to the food pantry. It's just a drop in the bucket. I was there about 2 years ago. The warehouse was completely full. They were running out of room to put food. If you go there now, there are a lot of empty shelves. The money has run out. Last year, they had $30,000. They were able to get 1,500 turkeys for Thanksgiving to give to the food pantries. And because MCA has run out of money, none of the food pantries will be getting turkeys this year. So the food pantries across Macomb County are scrambling to get food for the families who are in need, especially in South Macomb. I would ask that you guys all think about them. And I have some ideas about helping our food pantries. If you guys are interested in helping getting some families turkeys, I will definitely be doing that on Monday and would love to have your support too. I just want to echo what I've said in the past during our budget hearings, is that from my understanding, the administration has allocated $500,000 under supplies and services for the food program to purchase food for next year. But as you guys all know, the grocery prices have really gone up on just about everything, including essentials. Being a mom of 4, I do all the grocery shopping every week, and so I know how much of an impact it is making on my budget. So I can only imagine those families who are don't have the means to. And so this $500,000 that has been allocated is not going to be enough. It's going to be depleted because the demand at the food pantries has gone up significantly while the federal funding and other funding has not. So whatever we can do to support our hungry children and families here in Macomb County, I would ask that we find a way to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, seeing no other, Commissioner Matus, she's not here. Seeing no other speakers, we'll go to item number 9, which is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Hawes, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Please vote. Thank you all for attending.
Motion
Okay,
passes 12 to
Mr.
0.
Berman.